Good morning. Today we are going to deal on the topic called load generation balancer services. That is, it is one of the ancillary services in the restructured power system. So, why this load generation balancing is needed in power system? That one first you need to understand, or in restructured power system. So, in a AC power system frequency, say for example, note this word AC power system, because there only system frequency comes into the account. So system frequency 50 hertz. Say for example, if you are in India, it is 50 hertz, and other countries it is another Western countries it is 60 hertz. So you need to maintain this system frequency. That is a direct indicator of a balance between the generation and the load. So if you are maintaining this 50 hertz, then load is a balancing like that. So if the generation is greater than the load, then frequency increases. If generation is less than the load, then automatically frequency decreases. If the demand is more, okay, if the generation is less, automatically there will be frequency, there will be changes. So even a small mismatch also can damage the equipment, causing the tripping of generators, leads to partial or total blackout. Say, for example, uh, frequency changing, decreasing, increasing like that. Say, for example, you are using a hair trimmer. Okay, hair trimmer you are using on your face. So sometimes if the frequency decreases, suddenly the trimmer slows down. Sometimes the frequency increases, suddenly the trimmer speed will go faster. Okay, so it will cause some injuries in your face. So in the same way, not only trimmers, say for example, any loads if you take, say for example, your submersible motor. Submersible motor, it is somewhat costly than the normal induction pump motor. So submersible pump, if any damages, say for example, any winding damages happening in that particular equipment means that also you need to spend more on that. So next is causing tripping of the generator. So small mismatch also causing automatically tripping of the generator. So if once the generators got tripped, means automatically it leads to blackouts or partial blackouts or blackouts. Okay, let us comes to the traditional and as well as the restructured power system. So if you take the traditional system. Say for ownership, if you take the whole ownership deals with vertically integrated market. That means generation, transmission, distribution, Gencos, Transcos, and Discos will be there in the hands of vertically integrated utility. If you take the restructured system, so multiple Gencos will be there, multiple Discos will be there, and also Transcos also will be there. And utility might be some 5 utility will be there or 6 utility will be there. Depends on the country. Next, control for a traditional system is that is vertically integrated market is single utility. Okay, so all this Gencos, Transcos, and Discos are comes under electricity board. That means single utility. So in the restructured power system, the control will be managed by independent system operator. Next comes the balancing. So if you take the traditional system, utility, so that particular utility only responsible for balancing the loads. Okay, so either it might be generation companies or in that electricity board itself, they will be having communication with this all this generation company, transmission company, and discos. They will be contacting internally to maintain the load balancing. So if it comes to the restructured power system, market-based ancillary services. So separate entity will be there. So there they will be maintaining the ancillary services. That means market-based ancillary services. Next, taking the account of cost recovery. So in the traditional system, it is embedded in the tariff itself. But in the restructured power system, paid separately via this ancillary services market. So here, ancillary services are introduced to maintain the reliability in the competitive market. So this is very important. Ancillary services, why they are introduced is to maintain the reliability. Otherwise, what happens, say for example, change in the frequency or change in the mismatch in the generation, okay, sudden rise to with the respect to sudden rise in the demand, so automatically generation may imbalance. So to ancillary services are mainly introduced to maintain the reliability in the restructured power system or competitive market. Next comes what are the load generation balancing services? So if you take the load generation balancing services are the subset of this ancillary services, which ensures that continuous real-time balances, stable frequency, and secure operation during the contingencies. And they are also called frequency controlled ancillary services. Okay, so load balancing services are the subset of the this ancillary services. So already in the last class we have seen about the types of the ancillary services. There, load balancing services also coming into the up. So here the continuous real-time balance. Okay, the continuous real-time balance between the generation and demand are taking into account. Next is stabilizing the frequency, stable frequency. That means 50 hertz. Okay, 49.9 9 to 51.5. So that is the operating range for the countries like India. So secure operation. So what happens if the demand is less, then generation is more, then frequency automatically increases. Okay, so frequency increases means automatically the speed of the motor and everything also increases. So for that also we are introducing the frequency automatic load frequency control. So these are also called frequency controlled ancillary services. Okay, so secure operation during the contingencies. Okay, so any contingencies or imbalance happen, so that there also we have to secure this operation. So these are called frequency controlled ancillary services. Next comes the major load generation balancing services. So if you take the frequency regulation, that is also one of the regulation services. So frequency regulation is the fastest and most continuous balancing services. So continuously you need to monitor the frequency, because say for example the countries like India, gridding system is there. There are five grids, regional grids are there. One is southern regional grid, northern grid, eastern grid, western grid, and northeastern grid. So if you want to stay in the national grid, you need to maintain this frequency constant, then only you can permanently stay in the national grid. So if say for example southern grid is not maintaining the frequency of 50 hertz. So sometimes they will be having time limit. So if they are not maintaining more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then what automatically what they will do is they will island that particular grid from the national grid. So regulation is very, very important. Regulation is the fastest and most continuous balancing services. So which can handle small random load changes, minor generation variations, minute to minute imbalance. So we have to handle all these things, minute to minute imbalance that we need to handle. Then only you will be staying in the national grid. The countries like India. So other countries also like same. Say for example, inside the state itself, there will be dispatch centers will be there. Load dispatch centers also. Say for example, sometimes due to the area of that particular state, they will be dividing into two. Load dispatch center, three load dispatch center, like that. So in the load dispatch center wise also they need to maintain and also the substation also has to maintain the frequency constant. Okay, so for substation has to take care of their subdivisions. Okay, so which feeder not maintaining the load frequency, so they also have to give the keep on monitoring. And say for example industries, some big industries, bulk consumers, they are not maintaining the frequency, means suddenly you need to trip the feeder such that the substation will be maintaining 50 hertz frequency. Next comes the purpose. So to maintain the frequency very close to nominal value for 50 hertz, that is 49.9 hertz. Okay, so that is the tolerance limiter. Okay, so next correct the unintended power flows between the control areas. Okay, in some systems there will be different control areas will be there. Some two, three control areas will be there. So substation under some five control areas will be there. Like that, say load dispatch centers under some 20 control areas, 30 control areas will be there. So corrected unintended power flows. Unintended power flows also should be controlled by between this control areas. Okay, so next is a automatic generation control. So ISOs, the independent system operator, measures this area control error or measures this area control error also. Okay, so if you take the what is this area control error? So area control error is the instantaneous difference between the power systems net actual and scheduled power interchange, adjusted for frequency deviation. Okay, so this area control error is a critical metric for AGC automatic generation control, indicating power imbalance and guiding adjustment to restore the system frequency and the tail end schedules. Okay, so this is the exact definition and the main role of this area control error. So AGC send the signal to the generator. So automatic generation control, so if always having some feedback. Okay, whenever the frequency deviation frequency get reduced, automatically it will give the signal to the generating station such that generating station will increase the generation so that frequency will be maintained constant. So this is the concept of area control, area generation control. Next is generators automatically increase or decrease the outputs. Okay, generators automatically increase or decreases the outputs based on this feedback. Okay, so next comes to the characteristics. So time scale. Time scale, as I said, the seconds to minutes. Within the seconds to minute, control type automatic control because automatic generation control. No, so automatically based on the feedback, it is controlling. So what are the equipment needs? AGC enabled equipment. That means feedback has to given to the generators. Next, the markets. You know this regulation up, regulation down. Based on this regulation up and regulation down, so this has to be monitored and maintained. Automatic generation control will be doing all these things. So examples, if you take hydro generators, gas turbines, turbine generators. Next is a battery storage system. So see, in this things, we can maintain this automatic generation control. Not only this, in thermal station also, we can maintain this automatic generation control, such that, say for example, load is decreasing, it is sending the signal to thermal generating station. So thermal generating station operator, what they will do, they will increase the amount of the coal intake such that the output of the generator also will be increasing automatically, managing this frequency constant. Next, if the load suddenly increases due to, say, for example, AC switching on. So not only AC, say, for example, in the consumer side, so your air conditioner is switching on suddenly. Okay, say, for example, if it is summertime, okay, everyone switching on their ACs. Okay, so automatically what happens? Frequency will get dipped. So automatically AGC, automatic generation control, will give the signal to the generator. Automatically it increases the output of the generator. Automatically what happens? The frequency get restored. Next comes the load following services. So load following services also, it's one of the concept, deals with slow and predictable changes in the system load. Example, morning ramp up. Okay, so morning ramp up means morning peak hours. If you take the morning peak hours for domestic suppliers, um, the countries like India, like hot countries, the peak hours is from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That is the peak hour for the domestic consumers. Okay, so if you take like a 9 o'clock to evening 1 o'clock, that is the peak time for industrial consumers in the hot countries, and 1 hour break or 30 minutes break. Then from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock is the peak time for industrial consumers. After that, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock is the peak hour for 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock is the peak hour for domestic consumers. Next, after that load will be very less. That will be the peak hour for industries, because industries will work 24 by 7. Okay, like three shifts. The countries like India, they are working in three shifts. Okay, so 8 hours shift. So 8 hour shift they are working. So that is the thing. So it depends on the this thing also. Evening peak time, morning ramp up, evening peak time, night time reduction. Already I discussed all these things. Night time, say for example, load is dipping in the night time. So factories, that means industries, can utilize that night time for their own thing with the shift. Okay, because they need to do the production and all, so they can easily manage they can easily handle all the machines during the night time, because their frequency also will be increasing, because due to the load is lesser. So if the this industry supply can manage automatically, the frequency will be maintained constant. So what is the main purpose of this load following service is to match the generation to the scheduled demand trends, and also to maintain the balance at the end of the scheduling intervals. Okay, so difference from the regulation. So if you take the regulation and the load following services, okay, following services, and the regulation, it is random and fast. Okay, load following will be smooth, slow, and predictable. Based on predictable data, but regulation automatically it will detect, and it will do the things fast. Following, it will be keep on monitoring smooth, slow, and predictable. Based on the prediction, it is doing. So what are the main characteristics? Time scale, if you take for this load following, time scale is minutes to hours. Okay, next, control, semi-automatic or manual. Sometimes automatic, semi-automatic, or sometimes manual, by seeing their load dispatch centers, by seeing their what is the frequency in the demand side. Load dispatch centers in turn will give the signal to the generators, such that generation companies will immediately increase their generations. So like that also will be happen. That is a manual. Okay, semi-automatic. Even though the feedback also given, and also you can get the signal from the load dispatch centers to that particular generation companies in that particular state. Next, frequency deviations. So frequency deviations will be small, and the participation based on the generation companies, that means flexible generators. Example, from morning 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. As I said, city, that means domestic suppliers, load gradually increases. For that load following units ramp up their generation smoothly. Okay, based on the peak hours. Next, comes to the operating reserves. So operating reserves also backup power capacities used during emergencies or contingencies. That you know already. You know what is the reserve. Reserve is nothing but a say for example, some emergency generators. Okay, like reserve generators will be there. That is also of say for example 50 megawatts or 100 megawatt. That will be run by some diesel generators, or some fuels which is cheap. Okay, so immediately, say for example, any fault or any sudden change in the load is happening, or immediately fault is happening in the generators, suddenly you can on this reserve generators for sometimes, not only for generators, sometimes it will be of flywheel capacitor, battery storage system. That is for very less hours, 5 minutes to 15 minutes, or to the maximum of 30 minutes. Like, okay. So next, why to maintain this operating rhythm? So they can handle the sudden generator outages, transmission line failures, and large forecast errors. Sometimes we can forecast, but sometimes than the forecast, the load will be increasing. So such that you can utilize this reserves for sometimes, such that you can on the nuclear generators or you can on the thermal generators within sometimes 1 hour or half an hour, like that you can do. Next, types of operating reserves. So spinning reserve. What is spinning reserve? So in the spinning reserve, generator is online and synchronized. Okay, so spinning reserve, always this generators will be in online and synchronized, can respond immediately. Okay, so no need of connecting that to grid. It will be connected to the online grid system. So so the feature is online system. Response time is within the seconds. Purpose to arrest the frequency decline. Sometimes to immediately drop in the frequency means, say for example, sudden generation is dropping suddenly, such that frequency also will decrease suddenly. If the frequency is decreasing suddenly, okay, so what happens? All the your equipments will misbehave. Misbehave means you can it will spoil the total system. So immediately spinning reserve, immediately it will give the signal and it will on the generators for sometimes, such that you can clear the fault and you can on some other series of generators. So example, part loaded thermal units. Already this I have explained in detail. Part loaded thermal generating units. In the thermal generating units also, there will be spinning generators, reserve generators will be there. That means, say for example, if it is 500 megawatt, so some 100 megawatt generators. Suddenly, if any fault happens in the thermal generator, suddenly that spinning reserve will on. Okay, and on it will be in the online for some 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like that, until the fault is uh, clear. Next comes the supplemental or non-spinning reserves. So this is just the opposite. Spinning reserve, non-spinning reserve are supplemental. That means generators may be offline, not connected in the online, started within 10 to 30 minutes. So there should be call from load dispatch centers to the particular generation companies to on the reserve, because sudden drop in the frequency, such that the communication gap and then they need to go and go to that spinning reserve unit. They need to check the fuel level and they need to start the generator. So for that it will take some 10 minutes, okay, to 30 minutes of time. So what is the major feature in that? Status of offline, the response time within the minutes. Next, purpose to restore the spinning reserve, that example, gas turbine. Say for example, gas turbine, you will take some time. Gas turbine, diesel generators also, to on the diesel generators it will take some time. So you can't simply on the diesel generators. You need starting devices for diesel generators also. Next comes the operation reserves comparison table. So if you compare the spinning reserve and non-spinning reserve, synchronizing spinning reserve immediately, it will happen. Non-spinning reserve synchronization not there. So you need to on, then only like that. So response time very fast, moderate. Okay, cost higher cost, because spinning reserve always it is connected to the online. So you need to pay for that spinning reserve generators, because even though they are generating the power or not, but they are with the fuel, sometimes they are generating and always they are keeping it, so you need to pay, higher for this spinning reserves. Next comes the non-spinning reserves. So non-spinning reserves, it is cost is somewhat lower. So what is the major use of spinning reserve is, in the sense, immediate contingencies. Okay, immediate contingencies that you need to take care of. Okay, so immediate, say for example, immediate. contingencies happening in that particular system. So then the spinning reserve coming to the account. So non-spinning reserve sustained support will be there. Next comes the energy imbalance service. So the main concept behind this is this service manages difference between the scheduled and the actual energy. Okay, so when this occurs due to load forecast errors, as we said, so sudden change in the next is the generated deviations. Okay, sudden change in the generated deviations. Next, renewable. Sometimes generators also will misbehave. Generators also will slow down. Generators also will make it fast. Sometimes due to that also it might happen. Okay, because due to the fuel supply, they generated deviations. Next, renewable variability. Say, for example, if you take like wind, sometimes the velocity of the wind suddenly getting dropped. Sometimes it is more cloudy, so the power generated from the PV generation also suddenly it is getting dipping. So in that condition, the energy balance services comes to the account. So what is the main mechanism behind this? ISOs will measure the real-time deviations. So is this imbalanced energy is supplied or absorbed? Okay, imbalanced energy is supplied or absorbed. Next, deviating parties are charged. Say, for example, whenever the deviating parties means, say, for example, if the particular entity is not maintaining, they are owning the wind generating stations or they are owning the PV generating stations. If these parties are not maintaining the generation as per the contract, so they will be charged more. Okay, they will be charged more because somehow they need to, once if the contract is done, they need to give the power. Otherwise, you will be charged with the penalty tariff. That also in the restructured power system, this thing also it is there. Next comes the characteristics. If you take like time frame, uh, it is from hourly to real time, hourly or real time imbalance. Next, pricing, real time market based on the real time market price. Pricing will be a little bit higher only. Next, purpose, settle that to manage the correction. What are the who are the participants? If you take generated companies and discos, these are the participants. Next, just a example, a discoms schedules 100 megawatt, but it draws 110 megawatt. That is also imbalances there. Next, in that case, the supply, this 10 megawatt, that means the difference 10 megawatt is supplied as energy imbalance. So this distribution companies has to pay this imbalance price. That means 10 megawatt price they need to pay. That imbalance price will be definitely will be more only because suddenly they are consuming more 10 megawatt, means they need to pay more. Next comes the demand side management. That means DSM. Demand side management allows the load to participate in balancing instead of only generators. So what is the importance of this demand side management in this restructured power system is to reduce the generation cost and improves the reliability. Reliability is small, means what? It means 24 by 7 into 365 days reliable supply, power supply. So that is also it improves the reliability and also it supports the renewable system integration, renewable energy system integration. What are the types of this demand system management? This is also very important term, demand system management in this restructured power system. The types of DSMs are, first one is direct load control. If you take like direct load control, the independent system operator or utility remote control loads. Okay, so utility remote control loads. Okay, so in that particular place, remote places, so it will be controlling the loads. Next, temporary disconnection of appliances. Okay, so direct control. So what they'll do is they'll simply disconnect the feeder. Okay, so typical loads are, say, for example, air conditioner, water heaters, industrial motors, such that what they will do is industries they will call to that particular industries. Say, for example, in which feeder that industries are connected, they will call. They will wait for 5 minutes. If they are not maintaining that frequency or this factors ancillary this voltage profile constant, so suddenly they will switch off that feeder, such that it will be loss for that industries. Next comes the demand response. So consumers can respond to price signals and as well as incentives. Price-based demand response shift usage when the prices are higher. So incentive-based demand response paid to the reduced loss. That will be price-based and as well as the incentive-based. So it will be like this. They will be charged in the restricted part. So what are the main benefits? Means peak reduction will be there. So avoid costly peak plants. Faster response will be there. Load reduction is instant. Next comes the market efficiency. So market efficiency encourages the consumer participation. So control levels, if you take like a primary control, secondary control, and tertiary control. This control thing already you studied in power system analysis. Okay, in detail. So if you take like control level, primary control, secondary control, tertiary control. Primary control response time is 5 to 10 seconds. Control method is governor action. Okay, so the purpose is to arrest the frequency drop. Secondary control 30 seconds to 10 minutes. The control method is automatic generation control. The purpose is to restore the frequency. Next comes the territory control. It is from 10 minutes to 60 minutes. Control method is manual dispatch. The main purpose is to replace the reserves. So what is the primary? Immediate survival will be there. Primary control. Secondary control correction will be there. Tertiary control, optimized control will be there. So these are the difference between the three controls: primary control, secondary, and tertiary controls. Next, overall comparison of the balancing services. Frequency regulation is there, load flow following is there, spinning reserve, non-spinning reserve, energy imbalance, and demand side management. Frequency reserve, speed is fast. Okay, automation is automatic. Main role is to find balancing. Load following, if you take, the speed is medium. Automation is semi-automatic. That means load dispatch center also will call to that particular generation company. So main role is to matching the trends. That means load trends. If you take like spinning reserve, the speed is fast, automation is automatic. Main role is emergency. For emergency purpose, we are going for spinning reserve. Non-spinning reserve, speed is slow, automation is manual, and main role is to for backup. Energy imbalance, if you take, speed is market based, automation is automatic, main role is to settlement. Next, demand side management. Speed is very fast. Automation is based on consumer control. Main role is the cost effective balances. So these are the main comparison between these balancing services.